Welcome to You Matter in Business. Your hosts today are Ariel, me, and Miriam.
Your heart, your brand story, and your success because you matter in your business.
Welcome back to You Matter in Business. We are going to talk with Miriam today. Morning, Miriam. Afternoon.
Hi, Ariel. How are you today?
Good. We are going to talk about the growth mindset. So before we
Mhm.
get into that too much, I wanted to talk about this because I've heard this word a lot in social media and on the circles. And I just wanted to talk about what it means and what it doesn't mean, because I think there's some confusion. Some people think that having a growth mindset just means being positive all the time. How do you help people understand the difference between a real personal growth mindset versus just pretending everything is fine?
Okay. Well, they're two very distinctive things, aren't they?
Yeah.
So there's a lady who's done a lot of research into this and is probably considered to be the kind of mother of discussion on growth mindset, and that's Carol Dweck. And so she's done an awful lot of work on this, and it's kind of the difference between the growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And now you're adding into that kind of mix the just like fake positivity that I'm going to fake it till I make it. I'm just going to be like majorly positive about everything, and therefore my life is going to look good and I'm going to be positive. So that's what I think you're alluding to, is that, yeah, just faking it till I'm making it and just being totally like over the toply positive. Okay. So that, I mean, some people work with that, but that's not what a growth mindset is. A growth mindset is more about that your life is not just your personal abilities are just not innate, but that they can be improved over time. And it's that constant being a lifelong learner, striving to be better in everything you do, through reading, through learning, through personal development, the value of having a coach or the value of having a mentor, those kind of things, but also about your attitude to how you grow. So recognizing that actually failures are a learning, an opportunity for learning. So it's all those kind of things. And I think it's really important, particularly in the way that I look at it, is that you can have a growth mindset for yourself. And you can also have your growth mindset if you're part of a team or if you're a leader. So growth mindset, as you said, growth mindset is something that is trending at the moment. It seems to be talked about a lot in social media. There's a lot of books on it out there. And I think it's a really positive way to live your life. Is that
Sounds good. Uh, that brings to mind a question that why do you think this is such a challenge? And I mean, why do we have to be told that it's okay to have a growth mindset when your whole life is all about growing and learning? And then you get to adulthood, and then for some reason, whether you have a PhD or just some degree, or even you just graduated from high school or learned a trade, it doesn't matter. But there's some point where you feel like that you're not enough, or it's not enough, or all of those negative things kind of will take over for some people, and that the growth part becomes abnormal. I don't, why does that happen?
I don't know. I think there's been a traditional kind of way of looking at life, or actually certainly in business, probably in the corporate world, that people are constantly striving to show that what they know is better than other people's, or that their knowledge is better, or that they are the expert in something more than somebody else. And it's that kind of, I know what I'm doing more than other people. And I think that's now become kind of redundant in the workplace. And I think this growth mindset is taking over, because actually in business, I firmly believe that actually, if you're a leader of a team and you allow your team members to experiment, if you allow them to be innovative, if you allow them to be a little bit more vulnerable and put themselves out there. So when you're holding a meeting, have that kind of attitude of, right, nothing anyone says is wrong. Everything is valid. Let's throw those ideas out there in a brainstorming kind of session, but there be a no blame, just allow people to have those kind of freedom of thought. And actually, teams become far more innovative. They become far more resilient. They become far more creative in the way that they develop ideas. And it's, saying to people, look, you can't fail. No idea is stupid. Just put it out there and then we can examine it. And so many more innovative ideas come from that kind of way of thinking. And I think what you're saying is, why does that,
why do people end up with a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset?
And I think it's fear. And I know that we're going to talk about this in an episode in another week's time. I think it might even be next week that we're going to examine what fear is. But I do think it's about fear. It's about that fear of failure. It's that fear of what happens if I say something stupid? What do people think of me? So we're going to delve deeper into that later on. But it's that fear of what are people going to think about me? And I think that forces people into that fixed mindset rather than, well, okay, let's just tuck it out there. Let's just see what comes from this discussion.
Yeah, the willingness to be vulnerable. I mean, sometimes great ideas come out of bad ideas because, a bad idea might spawn a good idea because it's the opposite. So, I mean, it's funny, but that's often what happens is contrasts sometimes are a great leap to reach something really creative. At least that's what I found in my field.
And I think you're totally right, but it's also understanding that no failure is failure. Failure isn't a thing. Failure, you might do something and it might not have the consequences that you thought it might have, or the consequences that you needed it to have. But what have you learned from that? Next time when you do it, are you going to do it the same way, or are you going to do it differently? How are you going to approach that problem differently because it didn't work last time? So that acceptance that failure is actually a learning opportunity and allowing other team members to do that, it's fulfilling to do it that way. It's actually liberating to accept the fact that nothing is a failure.
I think we need to redefine that word. I said that earlier today to a women's business group, and it seems like we need a new definition, because when you think of that word, it seems final, right? Like it's the end, it's the final result. Whereas it's not even a fail. It's okay, that way didn't work. Fine. What way will work, right? What do we know about it, why didn't it work, and what can we learn from that? It's not about whether it succeeded or not. It's about what we learn from trying this method. Scientists do this all the time. How many times does a scientist do different experiments? Hundreds of times sometimes to get those results they want. If it didn't work, they figure it out. So it's just a part of, it is a part of life. But I'm not sure why we end up with this black and white, you failed or you won kind of thinking. It's like very rigid.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it just reframing it. You know what I'm like with reframing. I love to reframe things, but turning those setbacks into future successes is, I think, a really good way to look at it. It's just a setback. It's going to be, how I form the foundation for my future successes because I've learned from it. And I think that's really good. I think we can look at other people's failures or other people's setbacks as well, and find inspiration in this, either in the failures of others or the setbacks of others, but find inspiration in their success as well. I think social media, and I bang on about social media all the time as well. It's a godsend, but it's also, one of the world's worst things that's ever been invented. But, we often compare ourselves to other people on social media, and people only ever put on social media what they want to portray. So they leave off the warts and they leave off the bad bits. And so we can compare ourselves to other people and always come out unfavorable in our own minds. But And sometimes we look at other people's success, and I don't know, you tell me, maybe you don't suffer from the same thing. You look at other people succeeding and think, "Oh, why wasn't that me?" Or why are they succeeding and I'm not? Or, what is it about them that's so much better than me? But actually, if we gain inspiration from those people's successes, wow, look at what Ariel did today. Wow, I could do that too. Or I could really, bolster it up, just kind of like, I can see that Ariel's had a success doing that. Let's see if I give it a go, I might have the same. So turn everything from that kind of negative comparisons into some real positives.
And there's also been, and you're a part of this, but there's also been a very large rise in continuing education, rise in coaching and mentoring and in mastermind programs for established business people, which really tells you that we all have to continue to grow. Whether I just met a bestseller author just this past week, and he has a very solid growth mindset. And that's why she can keep doing stuff that's more challenging for her. But some people, I don't know if you think you should figure it out yourself at some point in life. Whereas if you hire people or you work with people who have already done what you've done, you're going to learn a lot of what not to do. They're going to see this pattern that you're doing and go, you're a little off task here. If this is your end goal, you might have missed it. So they'll help kind of keep you if they see you got inner struggles that are in your way that you haven't quite kind of put silent, or at least quiet enough that you can keep forward. Those pieces of investment inside our own growth. I mean, you go to college, you think you're done. College just teaches you how to learn, right? But that's about all it does. You get out in the field is when you really learn how to do whatever it is you went to school for. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. You might have not liked what the actual work is when you get out there. But so college has its place, education has its place. But I think having this growth mindset throughout your career, throughout your life, even if you're 80 years old, learning another language, really helps prevent dementia. So I said that right, dementia?
Yeah. But it's like when you learn to drive, isn't it? You're there in the car with your driving instructor or your parents or whoever it is that's teaching you to drive. And they teach you what the laws of the road are. They teach you which side of the road you have to drive on. They should teach you what the road signs are and when you should give way, what traffic lights mean and all that kind of stuff, and what speed limits are and how to use roundabouts and all those kind of things. Actually, you don't start learning properly how to drive until you've passed your test and you're in the car on your own and you've got to do it yourself. So, and I think that's the same with the whole of life, isn't it? You don't, you can read as many textbooks as you like. You can read as many inspirational books as you like, but until you actually get out there and start living life or start running your own business or start whatever you happen to be doing, but until you start doing it, you don't learn. Kind
of fun though, isn't it?
I think it is, as long as you've got that attitude and that doesn't matter. Just get out and fail, but get out and start learning. If you look at every business, even some of the most successful businesses like Amazon, people like that, if you look at where they began, if you talk to Jeff Bezos and talked about the number of business that he has started and they've not succeeded, or the number of ideas that he's had in Amazon and in the other things that he does, or if you look at Elon Musk, how many companies has he had? Even Donald Trump, how many companies has he had that just haven't succeeded? How many times has he had to file for bankruptcy? But he's still considered to be a very successful businessman, and I guarantee, and if you watch him on The Apprentice, I guarantee that there's things that he's failed at that he's learned from. Yeah, I think it's challenging. I think it's a great way, it's a great mindset to have. And I think we should all embrace a growth mindset over a fixed mindset.
Yeah, and encourage it in others. you know, that whole exploration, curiosity. If you don't know something, learn, you know, invite somebody into your life that you can learn from, right?
And that's about your support squad, isn't it? It's about
Yeah.
surrounding yourself with people that have already been through the challenges that you want to go through. So if you want to be a tennis player, you surround yourself with world-class tennis players. If you want to be a writer or a marathon runner, you surround yourself with people who have already achieved the thing that you want to achieve, because they are the people that are going to challenge you the most. They are the people that have already walked through the coals and can tell you, you know, as you said a minute ago, you know, I tried it that way. Maybe you could tweak it and do this instead, and you might get there quicker. Or, you know, just offer some advice of things that they've done. Or you could just watch and get inspiration from their successes, or even from their failures.
Yeah, it's funny when you're looking at yourself, sometimes the mirror gets fuzzy. You know, when you're looking at other people, that mirror is fuzzy, but you don't know it, right? Because you're using your own eyes. But whatever people are putting out there is their perception that they want the universe to see, hopefully. But we're still, a lot of times when we're looking at somebody who is successful, we're looking at the end of the journey, or even the beginning, or the middle. We're not looking at the beginning. The beginning, they started just like us and didn't know what the heck they were doing. I mean, they might have had a better jump leap, or they might have literally just said, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to learn as I go. So, but we can't compare our beginning to somebody else's middle, or even our middle to somebody else's end.
No.
Comparison is really a waste of time.
Just take a moment for a slight interruption. We wanted to share some exciting news.
Exceptional women professionals often struggle to communicate their expertise. Rediscover, refine, rebrand women's retreats provide a transformative, intimate experience that help clarify your unique identity, so you are self-confident and courageous, stand out in your industry, and enjoy effective marketing.
Join us on one of these retreats. Go to arielfaith.com and choose your date that fits your schedule. Reserve your exclusive spot with a simple deposit, and then enjoy tailored planning tips and details from us to get ready for this inspiring experience. In the meantime, if you can like, share, and comment on this podcast, we'd appreciate the love. Thank you.
And you're absolutely right. I think you're absolutely right. But I think it's really good to look at your competitors. It's really good to recognize who your competitors are. It's really good to understand what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what they do really well, and what they don't do really well. But most of all, what makes you stand out from your competitors. So I think in some ways, it's not comparison, if you like. It's recognizing other people in the same field as you, maybe, and working out how you can set yourself apart from them, but learn from, be inspired by them. But you know, you're absolutely right. You know, there's a picture on the internet of Amazon when they first started. I love Amazon as a, you know, me and Jeff, you know, Jim thinks that we're having an affair because you know, the van is always parked out.
Packages every day. I don't know what happened.
You know, when a delivery doesn't come to my door, the delivery driver phones me up to make sure I'm not ill. You know, so I like to use Amazon. But there's a picture on the internet of Amazon on day one, and it's musty old storeroom that's got filing cabinets lining the walls, and stuck on the wall behind Mr. Bezos is a piece of paper that says Amazon, and it's taped to the wall with masking tape. Now, I don't know whether this is fictitious or not, but I think it's quite funny. Just that it just can't, you know, there's papers spilling out of the filing cabinets, and there's boxes all around the place. And we all look at Amazon as being this pinnacle of industry that has got everything right. That there isn't a person in this world probably that doesn't, maybe the developed world, that doesn't have an Amazon account or knows about Amazon. But so he really has got it right. But that's not where he started. And that's what you're trying to say, is that, my business might be struggling, or, I feel that I'm failing all the time, or I'm not getting the traction that I'm thinking. Why has Mr. Bezos got it right? Well, he didn't day one, and he's made a lot of mistakes along the way. So
and whenever we do anything new, we never get it right the first time. That's normal.
Well, it's luck if you
do. A
do.
guitar and can just play, some song they've never even heard of. That's just not something we do. We have to keep learning and practice and keep learning and practice. And we get better if we keep learning and we practice. And if we have a weakness somewhere, somebody who has a better ear will hear it.
Mm-hmm.
We might not have trained our ear quite as well as they have. So they'll teach us, tell us to be in tune to this specific sound or whatever it might be. And then you just keep going,
And a part of your growth mindset is recognizing the value of having those people around you that can say, give you a different idea. And you're right, it's the value of coaching, it's the value of mentorship, it's the value of doing those courses or those seminars, or just listening to those podcasts, or all those kind of things, recognizing the value of hearing someone else's point of view and being able to use that to your own benefit. Being shacking yourself up in not surrounding yourself with knowledgeable people, and not recognizing that other people could maybe just be curious enough to ask you the right questions that you then go, hadn't looked at it like that before. Have that light bulb moment.
Sometimes feedback is hard for people. In fact, I think it's harder for people than people will admit. But say we're telling a story, or we're presenting a presentation, or whatever it might be, and then we ask for honest feedback, and then we get it, and our heart sinks because we put so much effort into that thing, and we thought we were so good, but yet there's still room for improvement. So I always say the biggest room in my house is the room for improvement, and that's going to always be the case. But when you embrace that idea, if you get feedback, it may take a while to sink in, because sometimes it depends on how it's delivered. Because some people are harsh and other people are, and some people need it to be harsh to hear it. Other people need it to be soft to hear it. So, and that doesn't mean the person giving you the feedback is going to do it the way you need it, right? So you have to kind of filter it. I need it to be soft, and then I can hear it faster. But if it's harsh, I still will filter it so it doesn't have a negative impact on me. But I lit it like a coffee filter. I mean, it's like, okay, that's some junk I don't need to attach to this. That one's staying up in the filter. Whereas I'll let the actual lesson come through, but it takes longer because it was delivered harshly. That's me. I know that about me, but I have seen so many people say they want feedback, but when they get it, they shut their ears. They become more convinced that their way is the best way, and they have to try to convince you that you're wrong in your feedback. Whereas feedback is a perspective. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's just the other person's opinion based on their experience and their expertise. That is what it is. So you can take the pieces you want and throw away the pieces that don't fit you, don't fit your personality. What do you think about that?
No, I think you're absolutely right. So two things on that. Part of a growth mindset, and I think this is a difficult part of growth mindset, is being able to take criticism and not take it personally, but actually use that as a learning opportunity to be able to, as you say, filter it. And we don't like criticism, even if it's meant as positive feedback, as positive criticism. None of us like thinking that the way that we've done something or how we approach something is not the right way, or that it could have been done better. I think, but part of that growth mindset is recognizing when people are trying to support you by giving you positive feedback, or negative feedback sometimes, I guess. Also, did you know that you're more likely, you only ask for feedback from people that you want to hear the answer, people that you think that are going to reinforce what you think. You're more likely to ask people for their feedback if you think that it's what you want to hear.
I would say that's probably very accurate, that
But-
most people are looking for confirmation rather than real feedback. They want to be confirmed that they're good. That what they did was good. That's why they, in leadership, you have the what do they call it? It's something sandwich.
Well, I call it a swear sandwich. Well, it's actually
they call it a compliment sandwich or something, but you tell them something you did good, then you tell them what they can improve, and then you tell them something they did good again. And that just helps them hear it, right? In two positives, there's only one negative. So it just kind of outweighs okay, you can accept a third of being not so good versus 2/3. But it's a good thing as a team leader or even a team player. When you're in any kind of teamwork, it's good to know that, because then you're going to listen. You're going to really listen when people talk so that you can hear the feedback, and then everyone in the group grows. And when everybody in the group grows, you create a much more fun environment to work in. I mean, it just becomes, ideas are just that. If they're not the best one in the group, that doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter, because the group came up with a really good idea. So it just really can create a really neat, cohesive environment.
Yeah.
So how about this question? Many people feel a lot of pressure about always improving ourselves. Okay, so let's go the opposite side. There's this constant pressure. Learn this, learn that, learn that. But we all know that's a part of life. And if we want to learn and want to get better, we have to go through some kind of learning, right? But how do you help people find a healthy balance between that growing and being happy with who they are? So if I always feel like I'm not enough and I need to know it, and I won't be enough until I know it, well, that's going to get in my way of believing in me today. But if I can look at me today and say, yes, I have room for growth, but I'm happy with me today, and I'm not going to like me anymore tomorrow if I know more, because the knowledge doesn't make me. So how do you help people with that?
Good question. So I talk to people about contentment, and contentment is an emotion that I really like, because it's not happiness, it's contentment. It's that feeling, that kind of you look at yourself and you are happy with you as you are in your life right now. And it's that real sense of peace about you. And then, but you can always do better. You can always learn more. You can always grow. You can always, move forward in what you're doing. Because if you're not moving forward, you're standing still or even going backwards, because everyone around you is moving forward. So how can you take that feeling of I'm good enough just the way I am right now into that process of, well, actually, I'm fully accept me as I am, but how can I move forwards? How can I keep up with other people? How can I just continue to grow and continue to develop without losing that feeling? You've got to learn contentment first. You've got to learn that you are enough right now before you can actually. So that's the foundation. That's your basis. That's what you always fall back on, that you are good enough. You are enough just the way you are. And then you can start to develop, the build on top of that, put those building blocks. Each brick that you put in place is you growing, but it builds on the foundation. And I think that's how I help. That's how I guide people when I do my coaching, is that we start from that basis, from that foundation of contentment, and then move on from there.
Yeah, and it's really, I don't know if it's self-awareness or self-acceptance maybe, but there's a point where you no longer look at yourself in the good or bad box, right? Realize there are 256 shades of gray. So there is a black and a white, but there's way more variety in the middle. So, and we dance, and it's a movement. It's not solid. It's like music. So if our life is, if today is a bad day, that doesn't mean that doesn't define me by one day. Right. And I could do something really stupid that messes up the next 10 years of my life because I don't know, went out and borrowed $1 million and now I got to pay it back. Right. So, I mean, you could do things that could really create problems for yourself that you have to suffer the consequences of. But that doesn't mean you're still not going to grow and learn by that one moment of silliness.
Mm.
And a lot of us get defined by those moments of silliness in our life, or defined by others, or stupidity, or just ignorance sometimes, or terrible upbringings that made us believe things that were false. That, so there's so many components, but when we have that contentment, or that self-assurance might be in there somewhere, but to me, they're connected, where the idea of being enough isn't the same enough as having enough apples for my recipe, right? If I'm making a recipe and it's calling for 2 apples and I only have 1 apple, I don't have enough, right? So there's an emptiness there. But if I am enough, it's not about the apples. It's not about the nail. It's about being enough at the moment, being able to live here now, not because my enough today is very different than my enough was 10 years ago. So I think that's where the contentment comes in, maybe.
Yeah, and
Kind of.
sometimes we're not enough for the future us, but we're enough for us right now. But we can still develop so that we can be enough for the future us. And being content with where I am in my life right now is different from, my contentment as a teenager, or as a young mum, or as someone setting out in their career, or someone setting out in their business. Where you're being enough is you're enough where you are right now. It doesn't stop you striving. It doesn't stop you learning. It doesn't stop you. I'm content with my weight right now, but I'd really like to be 10 pounds lighter, so I can move towards being 10 pounds lighter, but to learn to be, okay, well, I am the way I am right now. I know I don't want to be where I am right now, but I'm happy with the way I am right now, but I'm going to move on to be what I want to be. I'm not a rocket scientist right now, but I can move on to become a rocket scientist by learning and surrounding myself with the right people and reading the right books and going to the right university and all those kind of things. I'm not an Olympic runner right now, but I could be if I put the effort in and I trained. But I'm content right this second of not being an Olympic runner. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
I do. And you may never want to be an Olympic runner.
No, I think that ship has sailed for me, Ariel. I think.
No, maybe you could. You could do the 80-year-old women's Olympics. I'll be in there with you with my walker.
Walking frame. Yeah, I'm gonna.
I'll run that race with you. How's that? So I'll be in the older group because I am a little older than you. But anyway.
Yeah, I just having that contentment, having that feeling of I'm perfectly happy with where I am right now, doesn't stop you being ambitious. Doesn't stop you from striving to be more than what you are right now.
And that's the growth mentality, that growth mindset, that you're just looking to be. It's not even better. It's just grow.
It's just different from in a different place than where you are right now.
Yeah. Think about a tree or a bush, right? That you want it to grow a certain way and it's growing the wrong way. You have to then kind of pull it back and prune it, sides and prune it, right? And sometimes that might be painful in the process, right? But then it now will grow healthier and bigger and in the direction that you want it to. So life is a lot like that. For us to grow in the way that we want to, we have to sometimes prune some things off. We have to kind of, add nutrients to the soil. We have to fill our tanks, or so to speak, with knowledge and great experiences and all those things. Then we have more to give, and it just becomes a cool cycle. This was a great conversation.
Yeah, I've enjoyed that. Thank you.
Enjoyed it. We are going to come back again next week, and we're going to talk about fear.
Yeah.
and how we can deal with it. I can't wait. So we will see you again.
No.
Thank you,
Bye.
Miriam. Bye.
See you next episode. After all, it is your brand, your story, and your success. Because Ariel and I know you matter in your business.
Thank you for listening to the You Matter in Business podcast. Please follow, share, like, and comment. We would love to hear from you. This podcast is sponsored by Ariel Faith Photography and Enrich Life Coaching. The show notes provide more information on how to contact Ariel and Miriam and any guest speakers who share in our journey together.